you experience in your day-to-day lives, from law to relationships. And today, this Thursday, we are talking about all things law. And I've got a very interesting topic over here. This has been a topic of debate for time. And of course, we're talking about customary marriages and why it's very important to legalize your customary marriage. Now, remember, this is in 2017 where the customary marriage rule said that, effective 1st of August 2017, this applies to all customary marriages that were existing before the 1st of August, where you need to legalize it. Otherwise, it is considered or presumed to be polygamous or potentially polygamous. And of course, this customary marriages includes things like, traditional ones that happen in Islam, that happen in Hinduism, in Christianity, of course, in the church, in places of worship, also known as traditional marriages. And with me, I have Advocate of High Court. Her name is Ruth Tanoi. Welcome so much. We're matching.
Yeah. Coincidentally,
today,
it wasn't planned.
Imagine it wasn't planned. Today is a green kind of day, and I'm very happy to have you here as we shed light on this particular topic of why you must register your customary marriage in Kenya. Maybe you can take us through a bit about what exactly a customary marriage is and what the Act says back in 2017, where it was declared that you need to legalize it, otherwise it is presumed to be polygamous.
So first, I think I'll begin from the history. Before 2017, there's the Marriage Act.
Absolutely.
It was enacted in 2014.
Yes.
It's customary marriage is one of the types of marriages that is recognized in Kenya. So before 2014, customary marriage wasn't recognized at all.
Right.
But in 2014, the customary marriages was recognized as one of the form of marriages.
Okay.
It was just that people used not to register it.
Yes.
So what people would do, because maybe you need to get your spouse to an NHIF, so you go to a lawyer, you do an affidavit of marriage, just stating that you got married to there was no certificate. Now, in 2017 is when now the rules, customary marriage rules 2017 was enacted to guide the process of registering the customary marriages.
Interesting.
Yeah. So customary marriage is basically where two people marry based on a community of one or both of the parties.
Yes.
Yes. One of the customs or both of it. Yes.
It's interesting because I know a lot of people who are actually married and they've been living together for years, including my parents.
Yeah.
They were married for the longest time, still married, and they actually got married in a temple, a Hindu temple,
yes.
Right? But they never got it registered. And then after 2017 is when they realized, wow, this is something that we need to go and legally get done. So they actually went and got it done.
Yes. After 2017 is when now the AG at that time, Githu Muigai, brought in the rules,
yes.
Whereby you had to register So that's why there are two customary marriages, where an existing one, because there are people, of course, who got married, like you have said, your parents, before August 2017.
Absolutely.
So that's why even when you go to the eCitizen platform to register, you either register it as an existing marriage or a new customary marriage.
Interesting. And why exactly, Ruth, do you think it's important to register this particular marriage? I do know there's a lot of things that come into play. There's factors, inheritance, for
yes.
instance, especially after one partner passes on. And then, there's times when there's other parties that come into play and they claim to be the wives also. Yeah. So this has happened time and again. We've seen this happening in Kenya. It's quite common. So that's one of the reasons. What else could there possibly be? And what is the need behind this registering? So
as you have stated, the many issues that came up because of customary marriage not being registered is yes. because you didn't have that certificate to prove that you're married. And unfortunately for customs, it's hard to prove that that you got married through if it's either Kalenjin custom, law custom. So that's why registering the importance or the significance of registering a marriage, first of all, is for issues of inheritance, yes. Not even inheritance alone, matrimonial property.
Okay.
Remember, for matrimonial property, if we have been married, what forms matrimonial property is property that we acquired during our marriage.
Right.
And how do you prove that we were married if you don't have the certificate? Now that's where even if you look at the cases that are in court, it's not even because people are arguing that they are married or not. It's because of now the issue of matrimonial property. Because someone they want now to divide the property. But now the one party, not the one, of course, there'll always be we find one party stating that we're not married legally, we don't have a certificate. The other party, that's why but we'll talk about it, there's not the cohabitation presumption of marriage.
Right.
So that's why it's very important to have your marriage registered because one, for purposes of succession, for purposes of even inheritance for matrimonial property.
Yes.
And also there are many factors. For instance, for transfer of land, if you're selling property and you're a married person, you have to get spousal consent.
Okay.
So it's very important for one to have that certificate. And also remember, there are marriages that are monogamous in nature and others are polygamous.
Yes.
So you have to have that certificate to know. Customary is potentially polygamous. And then the Christian civil is monogamous in nature. So that means by the time you have contracted that marriage, you can't get another wife. It has to be one wife. So that's why it's very important that you get that certificate to show that you are married customarily. And then for a man who wants to get more than one wife, at least when you're married customarily, you have a right under the law to marry as many wives as you would want.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So like the only way to actually make sure, for instance, that this doesn't happen is to get it legally done.
Yeah,
you register it.
Yeah, you have to register it.
Okay,
you
to be monogamous.
Monogamous, they are Hindu, Christian, and civil.
Okay.
Monogamous in nature.
Okay.
So that's why if you're already married under that civil, Hindu, or Christian marriage, you can't contract either Islam and customary are the ones that are potentially polygamous. Yes.
Interesting. All right. And remember, you can also be part of this conversation if you'd like to reach out to us and tell us why it's important to register your customary marriage. In your view, have you experienced anything in this situation where in the lines of you have been married and of course there has been problems or issues that have arisen because you haven't registered your traditional or customary marriage? Well, I would love to know. The WhatsApp number is 0793 267 279. Once again, you can WhatsApp us, send us a message on 0793 267 279, or alternatively, call us, talk to us live, and we have Advocate of High Court Ruth Tanui who will be answering your questions. If there is something that's a bit of a doubt in your mind, please call us and she'll be very much at your service. Call in on 0795 045 864. Once again, 0795 045 864. Remember, on social media, especially on X, you can find us on @TV47 News. We've currently had a poll over there, and the question that we asked is it important to register your customary marriage? And so far, we have 93% actually saying that yes, it is important, and 7% saying that no, it's not important. Well, you know what? I have a wife at home. Why exactly do I need to register it? I already have everything. I'm living with her. She's doing all her duties that she needs to do in this particular ndoa. But then why document it? You know, why do we need documents? So that's something that I think we can discuss at length. So do be a part of this. Be a part of this particular conversation. The hashtag is Morning Cafe TV47 at Shiksha Aurora. Do interact with us, and of course we'll get to those engagements and interactions later on. Now, maybe you can start off by telling me, Ruth, what exactly is the process of registering a customary marriage in Kenya?
So, as I stated, there's the people who contracted it before, you did your customary marriage before August 2017.
Yes.
And then there's now the new, for people now who are doing it after. So I think we can start with the new customary marriages.
Yes.
The process, by then now it's done online. So you go to, it's normally done in the eCitizen platform.
Okay.
That's the way you can go and register your business. You can go and get your passport you go to the eCitizen platform. Then now you go and you do the registration for your customary marriage. So what happens is you'll choose, they normally give two options. Is it a marriage, that customary marriage that was existing from before August 2017, or it's now a new, they call it new customary marriage. So of course, if now it's the new one, then we are saying now you click on the new one. And then now there's documents. The first thing by there, they'll give you the documents that will be required. So upon now, let's say you've done your custom, you're married using your custom, within 3 months, you're supposed to give a notice to the registrar that now you have done your customary marriage. Maybe if you did it in Kikuyu, Kalenjin, you said the custom that you used. And then there's also a declaration where you give a declaration stating that we got married on this day using this custom. Okay. And then there are 2 witnesses also who will sign on it.
Right.
Yes. Then that's even, and then the requirements are normally your national ID. The notice now, upon you do there's a form under the marriage rules. There's a form that you will fill. And then you put in your passport photos, the husband and the wife to be, and all the information, the details of the bride, the bridegroom, the custom that you used, and the witnesses. And then what happens is a notice will be placed by the registrar for 14 days for anyone who is objecting it. So if there's no objection, or if an objection is brought and it's dealt with, now you'll be given an acknowledgement certificate telling you that now you have done with the first stage. Now you can register your marriage.
Now, In situations where, for instance, you get a customary marriage done, but it is not done by a licensed priest or a licensed, any priest. It could be, for example, a sheikh. Sometimes you have these people who are just doing traditional marriages, but they're not registered to do so. They're not licensed to do so, but you still want to register your marriage. What do you do in such a situation?
So that one doesn't apply to customary, because customary, you use your customs.
Yes.
Yeah. But for now, the one now registered priest or pastor is now if you're doing Christian or Hindu. Yeah.
Okay.
So now what normally happens, the same thing, you go to eCitizen and you register. So the first thing is you will have to they have to confirm that person is approved, has a license.
And if they don't?
If they don't now, of course, they do it at the initial stage. You have a chance of looking at another person.
You have to redo it.
Not redoing it, it's at the initial stage. But then they do it at the initial stage of the notice. Before you get married, okay, they have to confirm. Because they are trying to save people from, you already gotten married, and then now they find out this person is not registered. Part of the documents that you present when you're doing a Hindu or a Christian marriage, yes, involved, now you have to get the church, if it's ACK or if it's Hindu, if it's for Hindu, the temple, now they have to confirm that person is actually certified, licensed to undertake. They do it at the initial stage, so you'll have a chance to change.
Interesting. Yeah. And of course, we've already spoken about some of the consequences of failing to register a customary marriage.
Yeah.
And when it comes to the requirements to register these customary marriages, like in different communities, there are different ways of doing it.
Yeah.
Maybe you can take us through a few of these differences that we have, community by community.
Yeah. So, for instance, now the law, now that's even the law is not very static in issues of customs, because customs change.
Okay.
Like even, for instance, now from my tribe, you're supposed to give out, I think it's 7 to 10 cows. Now you see, at this time, it's hard for someone to have that. Yeah. So you can pay something that is equivalent to those number of cows. Okay. So what court does, you don't have to have paid the exact, for instance, you're required to pay 200,000. Yes. The law just requires you to have paid a token. You don't have to have paid the entire amount, as long as there's proof you paid, let's say 50,000. You go your marriage now, that can be confirmation that you've already undergone the customary marriages. And then now there's another requirement is they need a letter from the chief confirming that the customary marriage actually took place. Mm-hmm. Yes. Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, that's now one of the requirements that has already been brought up. The chief you get a letter from the chief, and then you don't have to actually have paid everything. So that's why, as I've stated, the law sets a token. As long as there's proof of a token that has already taken place. Yeah, that's what. Yeah, and then for the way I've stated now, like after now, that's for the question was customary, just to confirm that the customary marriage has taken place.
Yes.
Yeah, that's it. And that's what I was telling you, the law recognizes that customs change. Mm. So unless now, of course, the other option will be if another person is opposing it, now you have the burden now will be on the person maybe who's saying the customary marriage didn't take place.
Right.
Yeah.
And what legal protections do people who have registered their customary marriages actually have in comparison to those that haven't? We already know one of them in terms of inheritance, property, you mentioned in terms of polygamous, monogamous marriages. What else do they enjoy apart from these?
So the important thing, you enjoy the benefits that other marriages had before prior. But first, even before we talk about that, I've realized that a lot of people don't see the need.
Yeah.
Because you see, this thing was implemented in 2017.
Right.
You're almost 7 years down the line. And a lot of people even don't know that you're supposed to actually register it. Other people have not even taken the step of actually registering the marriage.
Yes.
So the other benefits that you get is, for instance, most insurance companies, I normally know, they need, if you want to insure your spouse, you have to confirm, like they need a confirmation that this person is your spouse. Now, with a certificate, it makes it easier. And the other thing I can state also is divorcing, getting a divorce on annulment of that marriage. One of the requirements under the law for you to actually annul your marriage is you must have a marriage certificate. Yeah. So that's why those are some of the benefits that will come with ensuring that you have registered your customary marriage. Yes. And also for the people who want to contract, like I normally know most people, of course, who go for customary, chances are they want to be polygamous, they want to get other wives. Okay. So at least you'll ensure all your wives, if you have 3 wives, all of them are protected under the law. Because, for instance, if you are deceased, they have to prove for inheritance purposes, they have to prove that they were, and the proof is normally a marriage certificate.
Right.
Yes.
Oh, interesting. So we've got some feedback that has come in on Facebook. Remember, you can be a part of this conversation at TV47 Kenya. You can tell us what your thoughts are on why you believe that registering your customary marriage in Kenya is important or not. Have you registered your marriage? Are you not registered? We'd love to hear from you. So Rebecca says, yes, very important for security purposes. That's Rebecca Moranga. We've got Baresta on Anyango who says, customary marriage is what? So I feel like this is the biggest question. You've already answered that, but maybe you can repeat for someone who's just joined in and has no clue what a customary marriage is.
Yeah, so okay, customary marriages is whereby two parties, you get married according to your customs. So for instance, if you are Kamba or Kalenjin, you decide to get married according to your customs. Most people, I think, they term it as Rorasho or Koita, depending on the tribe that the culture or the customs you are accustomed to. So that both, it's normal, people, I think, consider it like most people don't think, because normally Rorasho is where now dowry is actually paid.
Yes.
And most people think that, that's even, you find there's even someone who was saying the moment you contact that customary marriage, someone will ask you when is the wedding.
Right.
But the moment you have done those custom rights of your tribe, the tribe you have decided to use to get married to, that's enough. After that, now you can go and register it. So if there are many people who just end from dowry payments and then they don't proceed, they don't even do the church wedding, or they don't
next step. They
don't take the next
further.
step.
Yeah.
So you find most people by the age, especially our parents' age, who have been married for over 40 years, you find for them they have not taken that step of registering the customary marriage. So customary marriage is basically whereby you have gotten married based on your customs, either party's customs or both of your customs.
Right.
Yes.
Ruth, how exactly are customary marriages perceived in contemporary Kenyan society, particularly among the Gen Zs, the younger generations? Maybe you can take us through that.
Yeah, so I think the way even I stated, people don't see they don't think it's a legalized thing, getting married using the customs.
Yeah.
So that's why even I was even stating, someone will still ask you when is the wedding. People don't consider it, especially the young generation, the younger generation, of course, they look at it as people are used to the normal, the white party weddings. Like that's how people presume that's how you're supposed to get married.
It's like a big celebration.
Yeah, it has to be, a celebration has to happen.
Yes.
The moment, that's why when you see a lot of people, they do the customary one, but they don't now register as a customary marriage, but they just go and do the wedding again. They do the wedding, which is, it's still the same process, but the young generation, for them, they don't consider it as, many people, not even the young generation only, but a lot of Kenyans, they don't see it as a valid way. But it's very important, because now the issue, that's why you find most of the time, they have told you when the cases in court, is when now people need to inherit property, people need to do succession and all that procedures. That's when people now notice the importance, why they're supposed to actually do the customary, they actually do the process and get the certificates.
Okay, interesting. Yes. We'll keep that conversation going. But for now, we've got a caller in. Janet from Nanyuki has just called in. Good morning, Janet.
Good morning. Ngependa kuuliza swali.
How are you today? How are you this morning?
Niko salama kabisa.
All right, talk to us.
Nilikuwa nauliza, bwanangu mimi ni bibi wa kwanza.
Okay.
Hello. Na ashaleta mwingine wa pili. Alright?
Okay.
Sasa nilikuwa nauliza, ashaleta, sasa nitamwambiaje sisi tu register?
Alright, Ruth.
Niko kwa hiyo setup ya customary marriage.
So, with your husband, muli get married in what form? Mulifanya customary marriage ama a church wedding?
Tulifanya customary. Hiyo yote tumeenda, kalipa rorasho, hizo vitu zote.
Muli register the customary marriage?
Atuku register.
Or ilikuwa before 2017?
Yes.
Oh, so that's why the best thing ni mnafaa kuregister your marriage, hiyo yenye mulifanya wewe na bwanako, and now hiyo ya alafu that's why, but ako allowed juu mulitumia customary marriage, anaweza chukua bibi mwingine.
Ndio nasema sasa mimi niko allowed kwenda kuregister bado na yeye, na atakubali kwa sababu already ashaleta mwingine kwa nyumba.
So what's the question?
She's saying that, do you think he will agree to take it and register to the next level, because now he's already got another wife and he's done the same customary marriage process with the second wife.
Yeah, yes, unajua ni kitu yenye niko possible. Mnaweza ongea tu na yeye alafu umexplainie because it in our benefit nyinyi wote. It our benefit nyinyi wote. So ni vizuri muongee tu, mkae chini muongee na yeye, umexplainie because even it will also legalize the other marriage. So yenyu mtafanya ikue like mtalegalize yenyu through the existing marriages ya before August 2017 na si process refu juu mnachukua tu so long as mnaenda tu kwa chief wa area yenye mulifanya the customary marriage anaandikia barua ku confirm that muli get married, alafu mnachukua hizo documentation. Sasa unaenda kwa e-citizen mna register your marriage, alafu after msha register hiyo yenyu alafu ata register pia the other one, but sasa wewe lazima uconsent. Kuna document lazima utasign ku consent the other marriage. So ni kitu yenye naweza advise tumketi nyinyi wote watatu, so you as the first wife, the second wife, and now your husband. But it's a process that is
mimi nikubali huyu mwingine aregistriwe.
Sorry?
Kwa hivyo lazima mimi nikubali huyu mwingine aregistriwe kama bibi wa pili.
Kuna document lazima usign as the first wife. Yes.
Okay. Okay. Thank you so much, Janet. Remember, if you want to be a part of this conversation, just as Janet from Nanyuki did, you can call us live on 0795045864. You can also WhatsApp us on 0793267279. Chime in on this conversation. Remember, we are talking about why it is important for you to legalize your customary marriage. Have you legalized your customary marriage? Would you have any questions that you would like to ask Advocate of High Court Ruth Tanui regarding this particular topic? Now, Ruth, you know, one thing that people actually forget in polygamous marriages, just as Janet has asked, the first wife usually has to give consent for the second wife. Is that the case?
No, not necessarily consent. I won't call it as a consent. There's a form. Because you know, if you already have the first wife,
right?
When you're going now now you're taking in your second wife, there's a form that the first wife has to sign. Yes, there's a form that the first wife has to sign.
So there's a form that you need to sign.
Yeah, the first wife.
But your husband can still go ahead even without your consent.
Yeah, because legally, by the time you contracted that marriage, the customary marriage, it's like by implication, it's implied you have accepted that it's going to be polygamous in nature. So you can't come in. That's why even though you have done a customary marriage and you want to make it monogamous, there's a process also whereby you both agree that you are not going to, the husband is not going to get another wife.
Interesting.
Yeah. So that's why by the time, so as like your consent won't matter much, because by the time you contracted the customary marriage, they have stated it's potentially polygamous. So you knew like this person has a right, can get another wife. That's why the other monogamous marriages you would have opted for if you didn't want to.
It protects you.
Yeah, that protects you, the civil and Hindu and Christian.
Okay.
Yes.
And how exactly does polygamy in customary marriages interact with this legal framework that we have right here in the country?
So the way I've stated, you know, the polygamy, like it's the African tradition.
Yes.
Before the Marriage Act of 2014,
yes,
it wasn't like to be polygamous, the law didn't protect it. The law didn't protect it. But now after the Marriage Act 2014, polygamous marriages now are protected, whereby, and by that it became an issue because people, of course, could get more than one wife.
Yes.
Especially, that's even compared to right now, it was more rampant then. So that's why you find people are not legally protected. So that's why the Marriage Act, after the Marriage Act 2014, it recognized customary marriage. But for Islam, it has been there. Because the Islamic law supports the polygamous marriage. So at least now with the customary marriage, it's for people who don't conform to the Islamic religion, at least it has protected polygamous marriages.
Okay.
Yes.
Right. Thank you so much, Ruth. I'm really actually learning a lot as well, personally, because, you know, so to speak, I feel like a lot of us are not well conversant with this particular matter. Yes. There's so much that we don't know, especially as the younger generation. And when it comes to balancing the two, the traditional customs with the legal framework that we have in the country, with the legal requirements of registering your customary marriages, how exactly do you think the younger generation is able to strike this balance? So
I think the best way to answer that is, you see, for there's now I think that's why we haven't spoken about the important factor.
Yes.
There's the cohabitation. You know, for sometimes you find someone, like a lot of people, you find they have stayed together, or maybe even they claim they did the customary marriage, but you find that they didn't actually register it. They were even like for the caller who was just called. So what happens is courts have recognized, to protect such situations, court recognized presumption of marriage, long cohabitation. Even there's a Supreme Court case whereby the court, the people even by there, they went until the Supreme Court, they had been together for 25 years. So they were trying to claim now presumption of marriage for inheritance of property. So courts now looks at factors in every case-to-case situation. So as much as the Act recognizes 5 marriages, now the Hindu, the Islamic, the Christian, and the civil, there's also the 6th one, that now is the law that recognize, the courts recognize it. So that's...
Yeah, I'm sorry to cut you short. We've just got a caller. We don't want to lose him, but we'll definitely get back to this particular conversation and we'll let you continue with what you're saying because that's very interesting as well. John from Meru has just called in. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
How are you today, John?
I'm fine. I'm fine. This morning you have a very nice conversation.
Yes.
Okay. I want to ask a question.
Go ahead.
Let's say now I've registered a customary marriage.
Uh-huh.
I've already registered.
Yes.
I get the certificate.
Okay.
And decide to marry another wife.
Okay.
Can the law allow me to register again the second wife? And I've already registered the first one and I have the certificate.
All right, Ruth.
Yes, the law allows.
And if it allows, will I use the same procedure? Thank you.
Yes, the law allows someone to, that's why it's customary, it's polygamous in nature.
Okay.
You are allowed, after getting the certificate for the first marriage, you said he registered the first marriage and got the certificate.
Yes.
So if he takes the second wife, here it's the same procedure, you apply again now for the new marriage. But now if it's for the second time, you have now to attach the evidence to show that this is not going to be your second wife. So that's why you can attach a copy of now the previous certificate. Yeah, and you will still get now a certificate for your second wife. Because every party, the purpose of registering is for everyone to at least have a certificate of confirmation that you are married to this person customarily. So that 7 doesn't have a limited number.
Right.
Yeah, so you'll use the same procedure. It's the same process because it's the registrar of marriages that have the authority in Kenya to give all the certificates. So the procedure is still the same. You'll apply now for the second marriage, but now you have to state, well, making the application, now you have to state this is the second marriage or the third or the fourth, and you put in proof that now maybe a copy of the certificate of the other, because of course they have records on their end.
Yes.
Yes.
All right, John, I hope that answers your question. Okay, we've lost John. But yes, if you would like to be a part of this conversation, remember, please do call us and interact with us. If you have any questions regarding this topic where we are talking about why it's very important to register your customary marriage, the number is 0795-045-864. Call us live. Ask your questions. We have Advocate of High Court Ruth Tanoi. You can also WhatsApp us on 0793-267-279 at TV47 News on X, at TV47KE on Facebook and Instagram, at Shiksha Aurora. Now, Ruth, you were just talking about cohabitation and how there was a case where a couple was married for, well, not legally married, but customarily for 25 years.
Yes.
And then they went to court. So maybe you can continue.
Yes, so I was saying that for them, they had been together for 25 years.
Right.
That's what I was saying. When it came now to matrimonial property, dividing the property, one spouse was saying they are not legally married because they don't even have a certificate. The other spouse was saying they are married. So now court, that's why it started from the High Court, then it went to the Court of Appeal, then now it went to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court now is the highest law. So that's why their laws are mostly the guidelines. They act as the guidelines now for other matters. Any other situation, even if it comes in the High Court or the lower court, this will be the guideline. So court stated that there will be presumption of marriage depending on like the timelines you've been with this person. For instance, now for them, they'd been together for 25 years. That's why court held there was presumption of marriage. Okay. For them, they have been together. And then they'll also look at factors of age. when did, if you got married before the person had the capacity, like and the person was underage, of course that one will will make it voidable. And then there's also the issue, court also looks at the burden of proof is now going to be on the person. Now, for instance, if you're the one claiming that there is no marriage, the burden is on you to claim that the marriage doesn't exist. Yes, so that's why cohabitation, court will has stated that there can be presumption of marriage based on the facts. Like the time you have stated with this person, was there consent? The court now looks at like such factors, the capacity of this person. Was the person, when you contracted that marriage for the number of years, was this person an adult?
Right.
Yes.
Okay. And Ruth, in rural areas, we hear of so many cases of we have issues with regards to registering these particular customary marriages. It is very, very rare to actually find somebody who has gone through the entire process and registered their marriage. What challenges do people in rural areas face when it comes to registering customary marriages? And how has the government made it more accessible for such people?
Yeah, so unfortunately for customary marriage, I was even checking today morning.
Yeah.
To register it currently, for other marriages, the Christian, civil, Hindu, you can do it all in all of the counties.
Yeah.
Because there are registrar of marriages who have the capacity to contact such marriages. But when it comes to customary marriages, currently it can only be done in Nairobi.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it can only be done in Nairobi. So now I think those are some of the challenges.
That's definitely a big challenge.
Yeah, it's a big challenge.
Because somebody would not want to travel to Nairobi to just register their marriage.
Yeah, and I also think the major one is people are not even aware. Most people are not aware that you're actually supposed to register it. I think a lot of people don't have that information.
Right.
That you're supposed to register your customary marriage. So there's that issue. And then the second issue also is now the fact that people it can only be done in Nairobi. And there's also because after the notification has been done, you have to physically come, the couple.
Yes.
The couple has to come physically to the offices. So I think that's now where the problem, I think the shortcomings of now people registering. But I'm sure maybe they are working towards ensuring now it's going just like the other marriages, it's to be available all over the country.
That's definitely quite a challenge.
Yeah.
You have mentioned that it's only available in Nairobi. But do you think that information is in plenty, or do you think the government needs to have more information and amplify the message so people are able to know? The lack of awareness is a problem because, as you said, they don't even know that they are supposed to actually register their marriages. They believe that once we've done a customary marriage, that's it. We are protected, it's legally done. So what exactly do you think the government needs to do to kind of spread that awareness?
Yeah, so I think the government should bring in more incentive. I think first they should find ways of ensuring these communities get the information. They can maybe use even the vernacular radio stations, or so that people can, because as much as you see for us, we are shedding light on it, but
Yes.
we're doing it in English.
Yes.
So most people, especially in the rural areas, may not still get the information. They may not get the information. So I think the best thing the government should bring in, use vernacular stations, find ways, use communities in the rural areas to ensure that they are informing people of the importance, especially the importance of customary marriage. Because unfortunately also, I think also the reason why in the rural areas they don't get to that point is because most people in the rural areas, when a person has passed on, like the husband or the wife, people do inheritance without even actually going to court. They don't use the succession of court. So you find they still use the local means. They find now if the person had 20 acres and had 5 sons, they divide it by 5 and everyone gets the portion. So they've never gotten to so most of them don't get to the point that they need to. You see most people
So there's barely any legal disputes.
Yeah, they have never, because most people, that's why even telling when you even go to all the court cases, even the one that go to the Supreme Court,
Yes.
they are not even arguing that are we married or not. It's because of that matrimonial property.
Okay.
That requires someone to be married. A legal dispute has to happen for someone now to consider it.
Right.
So I think in the rural areas, because when people don't actually do the succession the legal way, so it has never gotten to a point where they actually feel the need. Yes, so I think that's but now the government, I think, should do more and also ensure now that customary marriages can be done in all areas in the counties.
Right. And, as your experience as an advocate, have you experienced or have you heard of your colleagues experiencing situations where there has been legal disputes because of not registering your customary marriage? And how exactly has the court tried to protect both parties?
Yeah, so it's a very common thing, especially because now when people, no one now getting married, of course, no one expects the worst.
Yeah.
Everyone expects that it's going to be
Forever.
yeah. So you find now when it gets to the point now these people want to separate, that's now when the issue comes in. Because now someone walks into your office and tells you that my husband left me, and now I want, and we had property. There's some property that we were supposed to, we even have children and all that. First of all, now the issue comes in because you can't actually, even you didn't get married to this person legally. So that means even the divorce part becomes an issue.
Yes.
So even actually the divorce part, because the divorce, one of the documents used for evidence is the marriage certificate to confirm that you are married.
Yes.
So and also the other factor, now they have stated the issue of inheritance. You can't get that property, especially now the property is when now the issue comes in. Because the divorce part, someone will be like, okay, I can contract another marriage because I was not legally married. I'm not like actually legally married. But now the property part comes in because matrimonial property, that's now where the challenge comes in.
Okay.
But now the courts, I think now that's why you see the presumption of marriage. Court has tried to cure that. Because now here you're claiming now you got married either through customary customs or whatever way you were saying you got married to, or it was just cohabitation. I think the law now has come into, that's why when there are factors now you have to prove for court to consider there was presumption of marriage, so that at least now the law can protect the parties. So now you can get the matrimonial property. If the issue of inheritance, so court can now protect you.
All right. So remember, as we continue this conversation, we're also getting your questions in. Please do WhatsApp us. The number is 0793-267-279. We've got a message that's come in. It's a question from Okoni Isaac from Vihiga. And he says, can a wife register for a second husband?
It has to be both parties have to consent. That's why when you see the forms, it has to be both parties have to sign. So that's why when there's another wife, there's also the other wife also has to be part of it, so that there's no situation where even as a second wife, so the wife cannot, because you need even the signature of your husband. It has to be something you have to do together.
Yes.
Yeah. So, but one party can do it on behalf of the other party, but now the other party has to have consented. The other party, because you don't both of you do the registration. When you go to eCitizen, one party is the one who actually does the registration, but the other party has to be in line with everything and consented to that fact.
Okay.
Because even I normally know there's normally a message. If we are getting married, person A and person B are getting married, the moment you do the application, person B gets a message just to confirm that it's true they want to get married to this person.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. And, you have mentioned that you can do it online.
Yes.
And we've got another message that's come in. You already took us through that. But I guess for somebody who has missed it, how exactly can you register online?
Yeah, so for customary marriages, upon doing your the customs now where dowry has been paid or whatever, all those things have already happened, within 3 months, you're supposed to do a notice to the registrar, just telling them that on this date, me and now person B, we did the customary marriage under maybe the Kikuyu, the Kalenjin customs, and the witness is now signed to confirm it. And then now when you do the notice now, it will be displayed on the notice boards now at the registrar's office for 14 days.
Okay.
Then after that, if no objection is done, if there's no objection, if an objection is raised and it's solved, you get an acknowledgement certificate.
Right.
So after now that, because registration is supposed to be done within 6 months, then now you can actually now apply for the registration. You can now register it. So when you do the registration process, you put in all the necessary documents, you'll be given a date to go to physically to the registry to present all the documents, and then you'll do some interview. When now the registrar of marriages is now convinced that now everything has been done as per the process, you'll now get your certificate.
Okay, interesting. Yes. And, Ruth, we haven't mentioned children, we haven't mentioned kids. And I feel like in this conversation, it's a very important topic, a factor that comes into play with partners and with marriages. And what impact does the Marriage Act have on recognition and protection of children that are born in customary marriages that have not been registered?
Yeah, so luckily for kids, children are protected all round. So under the Constitution, they look in every situation, the best interest of the child is the one that is looked at, even at the Children's Act. So in issues now where there's the issues of inheritance, a child, so long as that child is your biological child,
yes,
whether you got that child out of wedlock, whether you got that child, it doesn't matter. So long as that person is your biological child, they are protected by the law. They're entitled to any inheritance if there's any inheritance. Children, luckily for the law has protected the children. So there is no, the issue now comes in now on the spouses, the parents, the mother and the father. But now when it comes to kids, the law has all-rounded protected the children.
And what about the rights of the parents with regards to, if I want my child and I don't want my child to be with my wife or to live with my wife, and I want the rights of the child. There's a name for it. I forgot the name.
Yeah, now custody.
Custody.
Yeah,
exactly.
custody. Oh, no,
So what happens in such a situation?
Also, okay, custody. And now for custody, what happens is, if, for instance, now you have separated.
Yes.
And now you want custody of the child. So what happens? You can do either people sometimes when you go to the children office, you come into an agreement, mediation. You just talk, negotiate, and everything, and agree like this person, the child will stay with. If it doesn't happen, now you can go to court. When you go to court, you seek for custody. There are different types of custody. You can seek for sole, whereby you are the only person. You'll be the sole custodian of the child. There's legal custody now, whereby you actual custody, where you're the one who stay with the child. The other party gets a visitation right.
Okay.
And then there's the 50-50.
Right.
So you'll make an application to court, and now court will now look at different circumstances. Court now will look at court looks at different factors. If you're the one now making the application, court will look at the interest of also the other party and the best interest of the child. Because even we had a case whereby the mother is in Washington, the father is in Kenya.
Okay.
So mostly, and the child is of tender years. So, for tender years, below 11 years, court looks at the mother automatically gets the actual custody.
Okay.
But now that's sometimes court will look at the factor, the best interest of the child. So in this situation, the child has lived in Kenya all her life. So you see now court you find out in such scenarios like court now gave actual custody to the father.
Oh.
Despite the fact that in normal circumstances for a child of tender years, even the law states that it's the mother who has to get the actual custody. But now in such circumstances, that's what I was telling court to look at the best interest of the child. Yeah.
Yes.
So of course the child right now, you can't change. The child has lived here, all her friends are here, everything, all the environment she's accustomed to is in Kenya. So that's why actual custody was given to the child. And for the child to live there, maybe to go and stay with the mother, the father has to consent. Yes, because now remember when the child goes to the US, that's a different jurisdiction that the court may not have the power to control it.
Right, and remember, you can also be a part of this conversation. So we have been doing a poll on Twitter. Well, I don't know why I keep saying Twitter, but X. On X at TV47 News. So remember, it is very important to actually register your customary marriage here in Kenya and do it in a way that is compliant with the law, just to protect yourself and, of course, your spouse. So the current poll states that 94% of you think that, yes, it is important to register your customary marriage, and 6% believe that nope, it is not important. Remember, you can keep talking to us. The hashtag is Morning Cafe TV47. Tell us what questions you have for Advocate Ruth. I've got another message that says, I was married under Luya customary, as both of us are Luya, and thereafter we parted ways due to uncontrolled circumstances in 2024. In that regard, in customary, do we have to go through the divorce process?
No, if they didn't, from the text you have read, I don't think they registered it.
Yes, they did not.
If they did not register it, they don't have to. Because now, for a divorce to happen, there has to be a certificate. A marriage certificate has to have been there. So they don't actually need to undergo a divorce. Because now, basically, that means they are not registered anywhere as married, if they didn't register the customary marriage. Okay,
so we've got a very interesting message from Bivon Nyakundi, who says, when a first woman looks for a second wife for her spouse, but then later the second wife misbehaves, who will judge her? Interesting points of view right here. So I've got a message on X, that's Nai_X4, and he says, well, they say they make it sound easy in interviews, but just show up to the offices and you will be surprised. And this is with regards to registering the marriage, customary marriages, to make it legal and, of course, to register it. So why do people have that perception that it is so difficult to actually do it? And when you show up to the offices, this is what happens. It's a challenge.
Yeah, but I think there's that perception in all areas of laws where someone sees that the process is people see it as it's a very tedious process.
Yeah.
So that's why, but therefore, even today, just by the way you have said in interviews, it looks very simple. So that's why today morning I decided to go to eCitizen as though I want to register a customary marriage, just to see how simple it is.
First of all, wait. Was eCitizen working?
Yeah, it was surprisingly, or I think maybe because it was around 6:30, maybe it was too early.
Okay.
But it was actually working.
Because at 9 a.m. it never works. Imagine, this is me talking from experience, and I have experienced this for 60 days straight where at 9 a.m. it doesn't work. Then I was told by my friend that, try at 6 a.m. and it worked. So I guess it does have, hiccups.
Because I'm assuming at 9 a lot of people are trying to log in.
So it never works. If there's an error logging in. Well, this is from my own experience.
Yeah, but then I tried to do it around 6:30 just to see if it's an easy process. Because then that person has said, by then the interview you can be telling someone, it's so easy. Just take an ID, a passport photo and everything. But actually when you go at around that 6:30, everything went very fast. And they've made it so simple in a way that if it's customary marriage, they ask, is it an existing marriage that you contracted before August 2017?
Yeah.
There's a process, and the first thing when they do, just to save you time before you proceed to the next step, they give you the documents you will need.
Okay.
So at least you'll have an idea of what I need, a copy of the ID, copy of ID of the witnesses who are going to who witness the customary marriage.
Yeah.
And then if it's a new marriage, also you just click on the new marriage. They give you they list for you all the documents that you'll need.
Right. Remember, you can also call in. The number is 0795045864. Call us live. You can get your questions answered by Advocate of High Court Ruth Tanui. As we are kind of going through this particular topic to get an insight, I have personally learned quite a bit today, and I'm sure this also has been an eye-opening experience for you as well. Quite an insight on this particular topic that Ruth has given us. Now, when we talk about societal impact, right, and we talk about what the impact is of actually registering your marriage in terms of the cost. Is there a cost of doing so? People actually sometimes believe that it's very expensive to do it, so they kind of forego it. So maybe you can take us through that. Is it expensive or is it free? We've talked about how there are some hiccups registering it online. You have to do it at a specific time. So maybe you can also take us through the cost, if at all there is any.
Yes, there are costs to it, but now it's not. But expensive it's a relative. Yeah,
yes.
So especially for now customary marriages, the ones that have, if it's the marriage that has, it's 3,900 shillings.
Okay.
By that I checked, it's 3,900 shillings. And then now for the ones who are registering the new ones, I think the notice, it almost adds up to almost around the same amount.
Okay.
Because to do the notice, it's around 600 shillings. Then after there's now some charges involved, which is, I think also after now the next stage, it's almost, that's 600. But at the end of it, it will cost you a total of almost the same amount, 3,900.
Okay.
But I think for the benefits you're getting,
yes,
I think 3,900, it's worth it.
It is definitely worth it in the long run. So I have got a message on WhatsApp. Once again, you can find us on 0793267279. Lots of questions are getting answered for free, even that. You're getting Ruth to actually answer your questions without having to pay for her time. So please, take advantage of that. So a message that has come in from Callistus, who's tuned in from Siaya, who says, "Morning, thank you so much for the quality education. Now, my aunt has been married by 3 men in different times and has children from the different fathers. She has never been married officially," which I think he means that they've not ever registered it.
Yes.
My question is, man of the 3, I think he means like if any of the 3 can actually claim the marriage in the long run.
No, they cannot, because if it wasn't registered, you cannot claim. Unless now they go for the issue of now going for presumption of marriage.
Yes.
Yeah, but legally, because they are not registered anywhere, they cannot claim unless now that the presumption of marriage is one that will come in. Now you have to go to court. Every party presents its case. Yes.
Mm-hmm. All right. So if you want to claim, what happens? How do you go about it?
Yeah, so if you want to claim there was marriage, now you'll file a case in court.
Okay.
Claiming now the burden of proof is on the person claiming there is marriage. The other person also the standard of the other person, if you are claiming, so of course the other person of course will prove that there was no marriage. So burden, but now the burden of that, the probability is normally it's first assumed the marriage exists. Now the burden now will be for you to prove that it didn't exist. Yes. So you file your case in court, now claiming that there was marriage, and you give your reasons why you claim that I've been married to this person. Maybe you can claim that we have been together for 20 years or 10 years, whatever the period has been. We have even children together. Like you bring in all the factors. We all consented to the marriage. You can even bring in witnesses. Like you can bring in witnesses to confirm that it's true these people have been together. Like as they have been living together as husband and wife. We have lived, you even say where the matrimonial home has been. Maybe you can state now we have lived together in this place for this long period. We have had this number of children. We consented to this, that we had the capacity to enter into a marriage during that period. period. And now it will be up to court now to look at the factors that everyone has brought, and then court will make a decision.
Okay.
Yes.
And Ruth, what advice would you like to give young couples, especially those who are watching right now, with regards to registering your customary marriage and the importance of it? Maybe just like highlight what needs to be done in this day and age, and your advice as advocate of High Court.
Yeah, so my advice to couples, especially now on customary marriages, I would advise couples to register your customary marriage. It's better to be safe than sorry.
Yes.
Because, of course, when you're getting married during that time, you may find that it's not, you don't see the necessity at that time.
Yeah.
Now you'll be like, that money would have used it to do something else. You find some people, maybe they did it when they're expecting a child. So maybe there are other factors that are taking a priority. So, but I would advise people, it's very important to have your marriage registered legally, because of many factors, you're both protecting yourselves. Because in case of, for instance, but I think the important thing is, if anything happens to one of the party, your spouse is going to be protected. So if, for instance, the issue of inheritance, at least the other party, as a spouse, you are protected. And also it's not even also inheritance alone, even for insurance purposes. Work during I normally know there are some jobs that have very good packages for spouses. They protect also your children. Like even see, they are normally, apart from the normal NHIF, they are normally jobs that will give you like a health cover.
Yes.
And they also they cover your spouse and your children.
Yeah.
And you see that's the best way, the only way, and of course they'll only cover your spouse if you are legally married. So it comes with a lot of benefits. I would advise people to take advantage of registering your customary marriage. And luckily, when Gizo Mugai launched now in 2017, when they said people should register their marriage, they'd given a deadline of, I think it was around, after they'd given it 3 years. So I think they'd said by August 2020, it will be the deadline. But then when laws are enacted for now to cover people who were prior, before the law was enacted, they normally give a deadline. Okay. But luckily, at least 7 years down the line, they are still, as an existing marriage, you can register it, even though you got married before. And so I would advise people take advantage of it, even though you got married before 2017. And it's important, don't do a new customary marriage if you got married before 2017. Okay. Remember, if you're claiming matrimonial property, it's during the existence of the marriage. So if you got married in 2014, but you register now, maybe you're saying, let's just do another marriage. So you register it as though, so it goes on record that you got married in, let's say, 2024. Yes. Now, the problem now comes in any property that you got it within that 10-year period. You're not covered for that. You're not covered for that. So it's important, take advantage. There's a reason. So if it's existing, do the existing process. If it's the new one, so I would advise people take advantage of it. There's a reason, because there were many case laws. There were many loopholes. That's why it was actually implemented. The 27th Customary Marriage 2017 rules was brought so that people can register their customary marriages. So to ensure you're protected, especially for people who come from polygamous marriages or families. So it's very important that you take advantage of that. And for people who maybe you did customary, you want to do customary, and you feel like, remember, it's potentially polygamous. Right. So you can't enter into a customary marriage and then claim that, no, I don't want you to bring a second wife. Yeah. So there's a way also you can do a declaration with your husband that we want our marriage to remain monogamous. Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay, so some feedback coming in. This one is from Emmanuel from Makadara, who says, I always wonder why unregistered marriages thrive while official marriages fail. Our mother aunties never dragged each other to court or divorce. Do we believe in these documents than our marriages, or do we use certificates as weapons against spouses?
Yeah, but when I'm sure when we're discussing it, it's coming out as though we are using it as it's like something as a defense. Yes. The other person has put it, it's like a weapon. It's like you're telling yourself, in case something happens, at least I'm protected. I have this weapon, now the certificate that I can protect myself. Yeah. But there people, I think that's another reason, customarily, people feel like, why should we get that certificate? Because, the major reason of getting that certificate, apart from legalizing it, is in case there's a divorce, in case, you see, the reasons comes, or you can inherit property. People look at it, so people can, if someone is looking from a different angle, it comes out as though, I want us to get property, then when now I feel now we have gotten enough property, I can now file for divorce and claim this property from you. So, but I think we should look at it from the angle of you are doing it for a positive impact. Yeah, so just to ensure that it's not a weapon, it's just protection. Things happen, even sometimes even for the inheritance part, God forbid, it might be something that even it's not caused by any party. Yeah, things happen, accidents happen, and everything happens. So you would want, at least by the time, if anything happens to any party, at least your family is protected.
Okay.
Yes.
And lastly, we've got one last message that we're going to take before we wrap up this particular segment. It says, I filed a divorce and went through 4 years ago. Now, should I go for customary or church wedding?
So my advice now, it will depend on what they want. Remember, the way we have stated, church is monogamous. So if you intend to just stick to marry one wife and don't want to get 2 wives or more, you can choose the
church wedding. Okay.
But if your plan is maybe to get another wife later on, only more than one wife, of course you cannot choose the customary. It will depend by your preference. But just know, like, when you're going for Christian or civil marriage or Hindu, it's strictly monogamous.
Yes.
And if you are going for customary and Islam, it's polygamous, or potentially polygamous, meaning this person can get a second wife. And so that's why it's important for you to know that factor. And remember, if you have taken the monogamous way, you can't, unless you divorce. You know, the people normally think, like, now I'm married, you are married under the civil or Christian or Hindu marriage. So because I want to get a second wife and customary and Islam allows, let me now use this other form.
Oh, can I convert?
No, you cannot. You have to divorce
before converting.
Because of one of the requirements on this.
So that's not a loophole.
That's not a loophole. Because even if you look at when you go to the citizen, they'll write there that you ensure, one of the requirements, they even put there in bold, ensure that you didn't contract any civil or Christian marriage. You're not in any civil or Christian marriage. You have to first divorce, then you shift now to do customary or Islam.
Okay,
yes.
Interesting. Quite an eye-opener. Really an in-depth conversation of why you should be registering your customary marriage right here on TV47. This is The Morning Cafe. I am Shiksha Arora. With me, I've had Advocate of High Court Ruth Chanui on my couch, and we have had quite a conversation, really. Lots of questions, lots of queries, lots of opinions, lots of feedback, and we appreciate all of that. We'll do this again next week. We hope to have you here. But yes, you have been amazing. I feel like I've learned a lot. Wisdom in depth, for real. Quite an insight really on this particular topic that I feel that a lot of us don't know much about. There isn't much education. There isn't much in terms of accessibility of resources to be able to know what's right, what's wrong, how to go about these things. But really, you've explained everything so brilliantly, and we thank you for that.
Yeah, thank you for having me. This has been great. At least we have educated people. At least they have gotten and by the way, it's not tedious. People should know that it's not hard, by the way.
Yeah.
So maybe the problem is don't log in after 9 a.m. Maybe do it earlier.
In the morning or late at night?
Or late at night when a lot of people are maybe asleep.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Those are tips from Ruth Tanui. All right, remember, right after this, we're going to be getting into the fitness segment.